This is the Music Halls of Fame podcast. This week we honor the year in music for 2013 along with a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2013. We also make the case for putting Frank Sinatra into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an early influencer. Plus, our Spotlight Hall of Fame is the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. Before we get going with the podcast, like everyone tells you, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when these podcast episodes drop, which is usually every Thursday. Now, on to this week's episode. The year was 2013. In music for 2013, Beyoncé reunited with the rest of Destiny's Child during her halftime performance at the Super Bowl. Then, in late December, she surprise dropped her album Beyoncé, which created quite the stir. Stone Temple Pilots lead singer Scott Weiland, in the meantime, was fired from the band and was replaced for a little while by Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. In hip-hop, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis were the big artists with their songs Thrift Shop and Can't Hold Us. Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, Drake, Jay-Z, Pitbull, Eminem, Whale, and J. Cole also were big artists in 2013. The biggest albums were released by Eminem, Jay-Z, Kanye, Drake, J. Cole, Lil Wayne, Whale, Kid Cudi, A$AP Rocky, and Mac Miller. In country music, 2013 marked the year that Taylor Swift ended her country period when she released her album Red. Her next album, 1989, would take her musical style from country all the way into the pop realm. Country was still strong that year, though, with acts like Blake Shelton, Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Little Big Town, Eric Church, Lady Antebellum, now called Lady A, Hunter Hayes, Darius Rucker, the band Perry, and Tim McGraw, all having good years. In Latin music, the big artists were Jenny Rivera, Marc Anthony, Romeo Santos, Don Omar, Prince Royce, Alejandro Fernandez, Maná, Alejandro Sanz, and Daddy Yankee. In dance music, EDM was in full swing in the mainstream, with EDM artists regularly cracking the pop and dance charts to go along with the usual pop and R&B artists who normally found room on the dance charts. 2013 was the year that Bear broke through with the hit Harlem Shake, thanks to the viral video trend that surrounded the song. Avicii's Wake Me Up moved him into the mainstream and into the top 10 on the charts, along with Daft Punk's Get Lucky. Other dance anthems of the year that came from EDM artists included Emily Sand's Next to Me, Fatboy Slim's Eat, Sleep, Rave, Repeat, Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike's Mammoth, Alesso and One Republic's If I Lose Myself, Dubs and Bourget's Tsunami, Showtek's Booyah, Martin Garrix's Animals, Oliver Heldens' Gecko, Tegan and Sarah's Closer, Vessie's We Are Young, Tiesto's Red Lights, Cedric Gervais's remix of Lana Del Rey's Summertime Sadness, Zed's Clarity, David Guetta's Work Hard, Swedish House Mafia's Don't You Worry Child, and Icona Pop's I Love It. Some of the biggest albums of the year were Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, Rihanna's Unapologetic, Mumford & Sons' Babel, Pink's The Truth About Love, Eminem's The Marshall Mathers LP2, Katy Perry's Prism, Lady Gaga's Art Pop, Lord's Pure Heroin, Bruno Mars's Unorthodox Jukebox, Florida Georgia Line's Here's to Good Times, One Direction's Take Me Home, Drake's Nothing Was the Same, Beyoncé's Beyoncé, Blake Shelton's Based on a True Story, Luke Bryan's Crash My Party, Imagine Dragons' Night Visions, Tyler the Creator's Wolf, Jay-Z's Magna Carta Holy Grail, Justin Timberlake's The 2020 Experience, 21 Pilots' Vessel, and Chance the Rapper's Acid Rap. The soundtrack to the movie Frozen came out late in 2013, but got mega popular the next year in 2014. Singles-wise, 2013 was the year of Daft Punk, who ruled the charts with their smash hit Get Lucky. Robin Thicke became big with his song Blurred Lines, but then was sued and lost the lawsuit in 2015 to Marvin Gaye's estate when the estate said that Blurred Lines was a little too close to Marvin's 1970s classic song Got to Give It Up. Other hits from 2013 included Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball, Katy Perry's Roar, Lords' Royals, Avicii's Wake Me Up, Macklemore's Can't Hold Us and Thrift Shop, and Drake's Started From the Bottom, Now We're Here, along with the novelty song What Does the Fox Say from the duo Ylvis. Bands that formed in 2013 included BTS, the Brothers Osborne, GRL, Pup, and Run the Jewels. Bands that either broke up until their inevitable reunions or announced their hiatus in 2013 included A Tribe Called Quest, The Bloodhound Gang, Evanescence, Lifehouse, Mumford & Sons, My Chemical Romance, Climax, Swedish House Mafia, Naughty by Nature, Girls Aloud, the Jonas Brothers, and Prince and the New Power Generation. The band The Postal Service broke up and reformed in 2013. But other bands that reformed in 2013, other than the Postal Service, include All Saints, Danity Kane, Black Flag, The Calling, Jurassic 5, Fall Out Boy, King Crimson, Nine Inch Nails, Rocket from the Crypt, The Violent Femmes, and TLC. Famous musical deaths in 2013 included singer Patti Page, singer Patty Andrews of the Andrews Sisters, Ray Manzarek of The Doors, entertainer Annette Funicello, Chrissy Amphlett of The Divinals, Joey Covington of Jefferson Airplane, country music singer Mindy McCready, singer Tony Sheridan, pianist Van Cliburn, rapper Lil Snoop, guitarist Alvin Lee of 10 Years After, Alan Myers of Devo, Corey Monteith of Glee, drummer Clive Burr of Iron Maiden, pianist Don Shirley, folk singer Richie Havens, country music singer George Jones, blues singer Bobby Bluebland, singer J.J. Cale, Chris Kelly of Criss Cross, Pete Haycock of Climax Blues Band, keyboardist George M. Duke, singer Edie Gourmet of the duo Steve and Edie, Philip Chevron of the Pogues, Jan Coulemond of Vixen, Jeff Hanneman of Slayer, jazz pianist Cedar Walton Jr., Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground, jazz drummer and band leader Chico Hamilton, and singer-songwriter Ray Price. At the Grammy Awards, Daft Punk became the first EDM act to win Album of the Year for their album Random Access Memories. Get Lucky won the French duo Record of the Year. Song of the Year went to Lords' Royals, and 2013 was the year that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis beat out Kendrick Lamar for Best New Artist. An extremely controversial decision, to be nice about it. At the MTV Video Music Awards, Justin Timberlake's Mirrors won Video of the Year. At the American Music Awards, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, and Florida Georgia Line were the big winners. At the Billboard Music Awards, Justin Timberlake, Miley Cyrus, Lorde, and Robin Thicke were the big winners. Kendrick Lamar won Album of the Year at the Soul Train Music Awards. Miranda Lambert and Luke Bryan were the big winners at the Academy of Country Music Awards. At the Eurovision Singing Contest, which was held in Sweden, Denmark won that year for the song Only Teardrops. At the Tony Awards, Kinky Boots won Best Musical and Pippin won Best Revival of a Musical. The winners of the Pulitzer Prize for Music were Caroline Shaw for Partita for 8 Voices, Aaron J. Kernis for Pieces of Winter Sky, and Wadada Leo Smith for 10 Freedom Summers. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony took place on April 18, 2013 at the Nokia Theater in Los Angeles, California. The hall inducted record producer and executive Lou Adler and producer and songwriter Quincy Jones into the non-performers category. In the performers category, the hall inducted Heart, Public Enemy, Donna Summer, Rush, Albert King, and this next artist. Randy Newman was born November 28, 1943 in Los Angeles, California. Three of his uncles, Alfred, Lionel, and Emil, were film composers. Randy also has four cousins who are film composers: Maria, Joey, David, and Thomas. And with that many composers in his family, it is absolutely no wonder that he became a songwriter and film composer himself. He started writing songs for other artists when he was 17 years old. He wrote songs specifically for Jackie DeShannon, Gene Pitney, Harper's Bazaar, the O'Jays, Petula Clark, Dusty Springfield, Pat Boone, and many more. As a performer, he started when he was 18, although he didn't put out a debut album until 1968. In the early 1970s, he started earning a reputation as a great songwriter. Many artists started doing cover versions of his songs. Those artists included Bette Midler, Helen Reddy, Judy Collins, Art Garfunkel, the Everly Brothers, and more. Harry Nilsson did an album of Newman covers. Three Dog Night turned a cover version of Randy's song Mama Told Me Not to Come into a huge hit. You Can Leave Your Hat On became a hit for Joe Cocker when it was included into the movie 9½ Weeks. In 1977, Randy got his first major hit of his own with the song Short People. The song was actually a snarky joke, but people were completely bent out of shape about it, which probably helped it get to number 9 on the Billboard charts. In 1983, Randy put out the album Trouble in Paradise, which had the song that became the unofficial song of Los Angeles, I Love L.A. While the song itself only made it to number 110 on Billboard's singles chart, the music video for the song became popular, and the song ended up being used in a number of commercials, some associated with team sports and other businesses in Los Angeles, and some which had absolutely nothing to do with LA, but tweaked the lyrics enough to still use the music, especially using the song lyric, "We Love It." While he was writing pop hits for other artists and putting out his own records, Randy was also doing film and TV scores. He started mainly in television, doing songs and scores for shows like Peyton Place, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. His film scores included Cold Turkey, Ragtime, and Three Amigos. Pixar came calling for his services from the very beginning of their existence back in the 1990s. Randy actually started with Pixar's first film, Toy Story. To date, he's done 9 Pixar movies, all 4 Toy Stories, A Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., the Cars trilogy, and Monsters University. His song You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story is probably his most recognizable film song. He's also written film scores for Disney's The Princess and the Frog, Parenthood, The Natural, James and the Giant Peach, Meet the Parents, Seabiscuit, Awakenings, and more. Randy's induction was slightly controversial due to the fact that he was known more as a songwriter and film composer rather than for his rock or pop music records. However, it was all of the songs that he originally did that ended up becoming hits for other people, combined with his influential songwriting, that actually got him into the Hall. Randy Newman released 11 studio albums. Of those, 3 hit the top 40, with 1977's Little Criminals hitting number 9. Randy also released 28 movie soundtracks. Of those, only 2 hit the top 40, with 2006's Cars soundtrack hitting number 6. 2001's Monsters Incorporated hit number 25. As far as singles went, only 1977's Short People hit the top 40, but it went all the way up to number 2. Even though 2010's You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story never hit the top 100, it is actually his biggest selling song of his career and was his only song that he performed on that actually went platinum. Out of the songs that he wrote for other people, 2 of them hit the top 40. Three Dog Nights' 1970 hit Mama Told Me Not to Come hit number 1, while Joe Cocker's 1986 hit You Can Leave Your Hat On hit number 35. Presented for induction by Don Henley of 1998 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, the Eagles, Randy Newman, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, class of 2013. Before we get to the rest of the podcast, we'd like to tell you about our other podcast, the Music History Today podcast. Every day we tell you what happened on that date in music history, along with music releases, birthdays, and passings. So, if you like this podcast and want more music history, then please search the Music History Today podcast in audio or video form on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. Normally, I would make the case for someone to be put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame into the performers category. However, this legend isn't actually eligible for that category. Therefore, I am making the case for him to be inducted in as an early influencer. The criteria for induction into the early influencers category is that it is for the people, quote, whose music predated rock and roll but had an impact on the evolution of rock and roll and inspired rock's leading artists, end quote. That category runs from blues to gospel to folk to even jazz. Some of the people who have gotten into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame under that category include Louis Armstrong, Lead Belly, Woody Guthrie, and Nat King Cole. So if a crooner like Nat King Cole is in, then why not Frank Sinatra? With Nat King Cole in mind, let's review Sinatra's resume. First off, he's Frank Sinatra. Honestly, nothing more needs to be said right there. Oh, you need more? Apparently no one's actually told you who he was. Okay, fine. First, he is nicknamed The Voice for good reason. He is perhaps the greatest singer of the early part of the 20th century and quite possibly the entire century. The way he both attacked words with his intonation and seduced them is the stuff of legend. Every singer studies Sinatra's music because they want to sing like Sinatra. You want rock and roll swagger? Dude had it in spades. He practically defined cool. The rock and roll lifestyle? Yeah, he invented that too. Ever seen footage of the Rat Pack or his resume of all the women he slept with? He had rock and roll lifestyle by the throat. Now, if you still have no idea who Frank Sinatra is, and really, how could you not? But let's say you don't, and you really actually just want to get your feet wet with him, then go with virtually any of his greatest hits albums. If you want a deep dive, might I suggest you go with any of his box sets, of which he has an awful lot of them. I know that crooners can't make it into the hall who are around in the present day, and no matter what they do, Harry Connick Jr., Michael Bublé, Josh Groban, and company are never getting in. However, Frank predates rock and roll, and a lot of artists actually base themselves on Frank Sinatra's style, which is why Frank Sinatra should be eligible for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he should be put in as an early influencer. This week's Spotlight Hall of Fame is the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. The Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum is located at 222 Representative John Lewis Way South in Nashville, Tennessee. The Country Music Hall of Fame Museum was opened on April 1st, 1967, but they started inducting members into the hall in 1961. The first members were Jimmy Rogers, Frank Rose, and Hank Williams Sr. The museum has almost 200,000 recordings and an extensive collection of memorabilia, both in the museum itself and in their digital archives on their website at countrymusichallofame.org. The museum is one of Nashville's biggest attractions and is open daily, normally from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Ticket prices at last check were $25.95 for adults and $15.95 for kids 6 through 12. Museum members and kids under 6 are admitted free. However, they still need to get tickets. Go to countrymusichallofame.org for more information and updated prices and hours, and also to reserve your tickets. We will, of course, put the link in the show notes. Charley Pride was born on March 18, 1934 in Sledge, Mississippi to former sharecroppers. When he was younger, he developed great pitching skills and decided that he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his brother, Mac Pride Jr., and become a baseball player. He started out playing in the Negro Leagues and even made it into the New York Yankees minor league farm system before an injury affected his pitching. From there, Charley ended up playing minor league baseball in the Midwest, especially Wisconsin. During one brief team stint, both he and another player were actually traded to another team for a tour bus. Literally, they got traded for a tour bus. Aside from being traded for a tour bus, Charley was actually beginning to make headway with baseball until Uncle Sam and the draft came calling. He did 2 years in the United States Army from 1956 to 1958, and then went back to playing baseball. Charley played for a while for a team in Helena, Montana called the East Helena Smelterites. While he played for the team, he also worked at the local smelting plant. Someone overheard Charley singing one day and suggested that he sing to warm up the crowd before games. In those days, he got paid $10 per game and $10 per singing gig before the game, so it was pretty easy to say yes to that. And soon, he was also singing all around the Midwest. Charley decided to make music his sole focus, so he went around playing gigs and shopping around a demo tape. One demo tape made its way to country music legend Chet Atkins. Chet started out singing in the 1940s and 50s with hit after hit to show for it, and after some time he also became a record producer and executive for RCA Nashville. Chet is one of the originators of what became known as the Nashville Sound, which took the fiddle and steel guitar out of country music, thereby making country music more accessible to mainstream America. Chet heard Charley's demo tape and got Charley a recording contract with RCA Nashville. Charley's third single, Just Between You and Me, became his first big hit and even got him a Grammy Award nomination. That started what became an amazing run on the Billboard country music charts. In the first 5 years of his singing career, Charley had 8 #1 country singles, with songs like It's Just Me, Kiss an Angel Good Morning, I'd Rather Love You, and many more. In total, Charley had 29 #1 country hits out of 52 top 10 country hits. In 1969, he put out his first greatest hits album, and even that sold over 1 million copies and went to #1 on the country charts. Over the next 3 decades, Charley released 44 studio albums and sold over 70 million albums, which made him second on RCA's biggest selling artist list, right behind the great one, Mr. Elvis Presley. Out of his studio albums, 9 of them, along with 2 of his greatest hits albums, went to #1 on the country charts. He was the second African-American artist to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, was one of its 3 African-American members currently, along with harmonica player DeFord Bailey, who was the first one, and Darius Rucker, who is now a solo country music star after years fronting the band Hootie and the Blowfish, although he reunited with Hootie in the past few years to go on tour. Charley also became an entrepreneur, becoming, among many other things, part owner of the Texas Rangers baseball team, circling it all back to the beginning. In 2020, Charley Pride became a victim of the COVID-19 pandemic and passed away on December 12, 2020, at the age of 86 years old. Charley won 4 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award, although only one of his wins was actually in the country music category. 2 of his wins were in the gospel music categories. He won the Country Music Association Entertainer of the Year Award and twice won Male Vocalist of the Year. He won 3 American Music Awards in the country music categories in the mid-1970s. All of this while being an African American in a genre that has been, well, let's just say less than polite when it comes to African Americans. Charlie Pride, inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, Tennessee, in the year 2000. And that is it for this episode of the Music Halls of Fame podcast. For more podcast episodes, which drop every Thursday in audio and video form, then please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, CastBox, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from.